Yeah, well done. I love it. Thanks, Zoom.
All right, I guess we start here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where all the signs point. So, Colombia 2021, Cartagena, boys.
Cheers, boys.
Yeah, we have a drink.
Cheers.
There you go. Another
Nice.
drink.
Salud,
Salud, baby.
Salud.
as they say.
As they say.
Happy to make it here.
Salud.
I hear.
Though I'm not actually here,
You
though.
shall not be named.
I'm not actually here.
Bienvenido.
So our friend
Just to be
Abdi
clear.
Zaglul is.
Even said my name kind of last name kind of right.
I know because I've said your name a million times when we work together on the phone. I'm
I
probably in the top.
know. But
There's
had
maybe a handful of people that have said your full name more than I have.
He just chants it when he's alone.
In history.
No, I'm not kidding.
No, he's talking about historical
'Cause
stats.
I would
statistics.
So we would all work together, and I would take a phone call.
This is the whole message.
I would make a phone call, and then I'd have to pass it to one of these guys, and I said Abdi's name quite a few times.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
It's great because it's crazy. I remember when I was in high school, and one of my cross country coaches, he was calling me up for an award, and he's supposed to give us a speech about how great I am or whatever, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Instead. So he had let's say he had like 5 minutes, right? Fuck you. So clearly he didn't have much to talk about.
Trying to fill
on
the
that
5
front.
minutes. Like,
Yeah, exactly. So he spent 4 minutes and 50 seconds just talking about how the last time he went up on stage, they never let him up on stage again.
Oh.
And he just told the story of like, yeah, this is why they don't let me up here because last time I did this and this and all. He just talked about himself.
So he just did the same thing as he did last time.
Exactly, he made it about him. He said nothing about me. And then the last 5 seconds, he's like, oh yeah, and this one's for Abdu's egg hole. I was like,
Abdu's asshole? Is that what
he didn't even say my name right. That's basically what it sounds like. It was brutal. Yeah, so that fucking guy.
Yeah.
Reason. Thanks.
Cheers.
Drink reason.
So you used to be like really skinny from running marathons, eh?
I
Or whatever,
was,
not marathons, but track, right?
Basically, I was
Long distance.
a scrawny little boy. Oh yeah. I was a scrawny, awkward little boy.
So you did cross country in high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did cross country in
in high
grade
school.
7 and in grade 8, and both times I cried. I was
I'm sorry,
so
what?
You little
mentally,
bitch.
I was so mentally weak when I was in elementary school.
Yeah. Well, then you've come a long way, but the only way to truly test that is we need to put you in another race.
We need to get you in a race.
No, I'm just
see
saying.
if you cry again. Did you cry when you got up the stairs?
Here's what
When
I'm saying.
you had to climb the stairs here to the 5th floor?
Here's
Did
what
you
I'm
start tearing
saying.
up a little bit?
I'm saying the 4th floor would have been nicer. Okay, that's what I'm fucking saying.
Yeah, he's like fuck the penthouse. We don't need that.
Yeah, the fact that we have the entire 5th floor is nuts.
Yeah.
Wild.
Exactly. So for context, we just got here today, and the place we were in before, someone had described it as a roach-infested prison, basically.
Roach-infested crack den.
Yeah, it's a crack den, and that's exactly what it was. You know, it was minimalistic. You know, who needs windows? Okay,
No,
Not for us.
not us.
We had a balcony, so if you needed to
That's
jump
only
off,
necessary.
you could.
I think Jonathan and Ian probably felt right at home because
Oh, it was
it
great.
probably
No, it was an
reminded them.
upgrade.
That was
They
so
reminded
good.
them of their place in
It was
Toronto.
so good.
Dude, the
There's-
ceilings, I didn't have to duck to get in my room.
There's no common
Huge
space.
win.
Exactly. To them, they're like, wow, there's a balcony. They're like, it was literally
Oh my
their
God.
apartment in Toronto,
Toilet paper.
but above ground.
It's wild that we had
they're used to just using the water in the toilet and like,
Hey, I
why
did-
are you washing your asses with that?
Listen, I did
This
the
is
math
sick.
on hand soap, and it's cheaper than toilet paper.
Honestly, it's probably cleaner too, actually.
Yo, and honestly, it's like in the same way you get the soil ready, you get your hands ready.
You get the soil ready?
You getting his hands ready for gardening?
Fucking get in there.
I like a good I like a good garden.
Jonathan doesn't even use toilets because, you know, he's all like of the earth, so he shits in.
He just
plant-
pisses.
He pisses in the. But he'll shit in. He'll shit in pot plants, and then he'll just like. Then he'll go and.
I mean,
he'll spread it around his kale garden and just
Yeah.
Hey, that actually would help.
Wait,
Yeah.
no, what?
okay, you know how in the same way, like it's really funny when you get pigs and you give them bacon and watch them eat it.
Mhm.
It's like what I do is I eat a bunch of like plants, and for the only thing I eat for 72 hours straight, and then I'll pee back into the plant, and it's basically the nutrients of itself, and I'm turning the plant into a cannibal.
And you'll just thank you so much. No, but
That's
you know
no
what?
Control.
No, because it's been processed through your body, so that's
Yes.
so it's fine.
True.
When you realize that pigs and other animals are also you, then
You're a
you
cannibal.
are
You're eating yourself.
Well, then in that way too, plants are meat eaters, and
Yes.
And we all eat
Wow.
everything because everything is a cycle.
Yo,
You know what I'm saying? Ooh, whoa, hey.
It's the cycle of
It's the
sustenance.
cycle. It's the cycle of
We're gonna dedicate this, guys. Let's go deep into biology.
It reminds me of
Exactly.
the-
This is actually a biology
It
podcast
reminds
now.
me of what we're looking for most. We've been searching for it and have yet to find it, which is mushrooms, and like how they would like be part of the forest, and the mycelium is like underneath the entire forest floor. And
The
it's
guy
just
wants so much.
regenerating the
Figured.
forest and recycling it back into the forest. And where are the fucking mushrooms in Cartagena?
Because it's all the farmland is taken up by other substances. They keep saying like Coca-Cola. I think they're saying.
Yeah, everyone's trying to sell us Coca-Cola.
They're trying to
for
sell
some
us Coca-Cola.
I'm more of a Pepsi.
And we're like, no, we want mushrooms. And they're like, they go to the supermarket. They're like, no, it's not. No. And I literally I put on my phone like magic mushrooms, and the guy was like, huh?
Me too. Dude.
What?
You asked for mushrooms. You mean weed? No,
Yeah,
mushrooms.
Exactly.
You mean coke?
And
No,
they were so lost today that they're like, okay, instead of mushrooms, how about, you know what? How about we sell you an island tour instead? Does that work?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
probably
come on.
some over there.
This is a
Everyone's got
transcendental
everything.
experience too, buddy.
Everything's got
Exactly.
everything. I'm wondering when's the last time the four of us were in person together.
At work.
Probably November 2019. No. Yeah,
the
maybe.
last time.
All the four of us.
Oh,
together.
yeah.
Right before you guys
That one
left,
time we
pretty
met up
much,
at
is
your place.
One of those like.
Oh,
parties
yeah,
before you
yeah, the
left.
It was a little backyard barbecue.
Yeah.
whatever.
Nice.
Not
Oh,
even
yes, the
barbecue,
one,
but yeah.
the 4th of July one.
Totally
Yeah,
legal,
yeah,
guys.
So
Don't
we did
worry.
the selfie photo.
It was
video.
a 10-person party
Yeah, it was 10
within the
people.
10-person limit. We're
It
not
was nuts.
canceled.
11 max. 10 people, 11 max. Whatever. That being said,
We play by the rules here.
we
We
actually
never
were,
break them.
Always.
One
This
thing-
is legal.
Duh.
What we're doing right now, this is legal.
One
No
thing
doubt.
that I was excited about was Ian and I actually played to win by cleaning up that backyard. That was playing to win.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we had a really disturbing backyard.
That was clean.
No, yeah, that was. You should have seen.
Yo,
Piece of shit backyard you guys had.
No, we invested in that. In
Guys.
cleaning that backyard. Played
Made
to
a
win.
dump into a piece of
And-
shit.
Yeah.
And,
Nice, bro.
I don't know what it was, but
You
something.
guys leveled up that backyard.
We did.
The rent immediately increased after you guys left because of what you did to that
From what,
backyard.
$500 to $550?
So that was 2179 Dundas Street West. That was the last time we saw each other.
Yeah.
And we were like, let's clean
July
up the
4th.
backyard so we can have people together in the backyard.
I remember Ian like messaged me to be a part of the podcast right before you guys left, and he was like, "Yeah, man, we got a sick setup." And for some reason, I immediately imagined, I was like, "Oh, this is exciting! Is there gonna be? I have my own headset or something, and I got my own mic." And I show up, and it is literally the exact same thing we have right now, which is a mic and a mug. For those who are watching video, I'll describe
Yo,
it to
we
you
got a
so you
sick
can
setup.
see it.
Yo, what's
Yeah,
a sick setup to
exactly.
you?
Don't fix it, bro.
Honestly, man, it works, and
The mic in
I
the
love.
cup is
it-
perfect.
it
The
made me
viewership
realize-
alone, the numbers talk.
It made me realize how minimalist you got to be. Like, you don't need the full.
Minimalist viewership.
Yeah, you don't need all the fancy shit. None of us have headsets. We don't need it. Minimalist viewership.
This is
Exactly.
about standardizing before you optimize.
Yeah. This is a standardization process. Really,
Exactly.
essentially, we're getting the reps in to shoot the shit in front of y'all.
You guys just wait. Once we get over 10 users per episode,
10 users.
we're gonna
baby.
level this
10
shit up.
users.
dude.
Yo, can you get out of work?
You
Mike?
still not gonna be off
fucking users?
Yeah, once we get 10
Oh,
users.
shit,
Yo,
no.
you didn't even know.
Guys, 10 users per month. Okay, that's it.
Yeah,
No, you're right. 10 views per episode.
Yeah,
My
wait.
bad.
How many views did the people see MMS? I'm
It's
gonna,
all the
I'm gonna go off
all
to
the wires
balcony.
are being crossed in my brain
There's
right
8
now.
balconies
So
here.
it
I'm
is.
jumping off one of them.
Exactly.
So since we
That's
last-
actually why we got a place with 8 balconies, so that at any given moment we can say
the options
we can,
open.
say, we can tell Ian to jump off one of the
No,
balconies.
you're just
They're always
increasing the
within-
chances.
yeah.
In case you
You're
don't
playing to
die the
win.
first time, you got a second balcony.
You're playing
Yeah.
to win.
Just for
Exactly.
yourself.
Let's drag him
And-
back up here.
Yo, they're like, fool me 7 times. Shame on you. Fool me 8.
Exactly. One of these balconies is gonna get Ian finally. All right.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Yo, so that was last time we saw each other in person,
Mhm.
and then then Mosin flew to Mexico, and we
Yep.
had over 30 days together. Had a sick time in Playa del Carmen and Tulum, and we did podcasts, and it was sick.
Hell yeah.
Anything
So I
that's
didn't get-
super
I didn't get a
exciting
chance to
from
hone-
Mexico, from your perspective, that Abdu missed?
The
Yeah,
life,
give me
lessons
FOMO.
for
Give me
you.
FOMO.
well, I mean, on a philosophical level, it was like life changing. On a like practical, sort of real level, on terms of what we did, like it was just so cool, man. We just learned to I just learned to live rather than just be in vacation mode. right? And when you do that, like you just become so open and so relaxed, and then you actually figure out like what you want to do when you're just doing the things you want to do for an extended period of time without the extended alcohol and drugs affecting your mind. Not that we did like less,
That's a good
with a
point.
lot less, but I mean we
That's
we
a good
did,
point.
we did still do them every day,
So-
almost
Yeah.
every other day or whatever. But like not every day, but
What-
like pretty often.
How
But
long did it take you to get over that like vacation? That was like a week.
a week, I would
'Cause you're
say.
definitely still there now.
Yeah, I definitely am. I would say 1 to 2 weeks. 1 to 2 weeks, and then it was like, then you get into the thick of it. You're like, oh, what do I want my life to be like?
Yeah.
But also at the same time, like we just went out all the time, going to the beach and seeing beautiful women.
Every day
and
was Saturday.
Seeing
Yes.
every day, you coming to the realization that every day is Saturday. Basically, that you can do anything you want. It was pretty life changing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could go into a deep spiral of like how to describe
That's
it.
great.
So
I
you-
think
I
that's
mean,
the big theme is you can do what you want.
Yep.
You actually-
Yeah, and then the other thing is you can do pretty much anything, but you can't do everything.
Word.
And then to do one thing is to give up the other. So what do you want to do?
It's you know what,
Which
man?
is helpful to do things that you don't like to do and scratch that off.
Yeah, it's just as important to say no to things as it is to say yes to things, right?
Yeah.
You say no enough to,
That's a great point.
you say no to enough things, then you just are able to refine the few yeses that you need in order to bring the few things that bring you the highest level of joy in life, and you start to identify those.
And then to being open enough to say yes enough before you start saying no to everything.
That
Because
too.
if you start saying no too early and narrowing down too early,
Yeah.
then it's based on limited
You
information.
miss the broad spectrum
Exactly.
of emotion, the
When it-
broad spectrum of experience.
Yeah, when in Mexico, you got to know what it feels like to be Mexican. So
Totally.
Yeah, we were walking down a street on acid as
Yeah.
you
As
do,
the Mexicans
as
do.
you do.
Yeah.
as
And
we do as a
then
Mexican.
Mosin had the
Really feel like-
epiphanous
Oh my
realization,
God.
hit him over the head with a 2x4.
Yeah.
Back in his head, he's like, dude, I know what it's like to be Mexican.
Yeah.
He somehow
It was like,
started.
really?
He somehow started speaking fluent Spanish. He's like, "Where is this coming from?" but to the Mexicans, he's saying, "Oh, blah 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 blah
Yo soy retrasado.
blah." Yeah.
So that was
That means
was
I'm
Mosin.
retarded.
That was Mosin. That was Mosin in Mexico.
Yeah.
And you weren't there.
No, but what I appreciate with that is like the first 2 days of me getting here was like getting into the vacation. Like there's different modes to it for sure, because I'm only here for like 2 to 3 weeks. I'm probably not gonna be able to leave that vacation mode. You know, there's like the initial first. There's the initial 2 days where like, what the fuck am I doing here? What do I actually want to do? So it's like saying, what do I say no to? What do I say yes to? How do I figure that out?
There's like a gathering information stage as well because you're looking at tours and like what are the options.
Yeah. It's like, and it's almost since I haven't been on vacation for so long, it's like I'm trying to remember.
It's like a different
On the
context, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember
How do
from
I
past
do that?
vacations. I'm like, what did I enjoy in past vacations?
Yeah.
What do I need to do here again? And then trying to take what I enjoyed in other vacations and do it
Yo,
again.
fuck
here.
your burn, bro. So we were talking to this girl.
Fuck my burn. If you can't see it, I also
Oh,
forgot how to
true, the
apply
corners. We
sunscreen.
did 5 hours in the sun on the island yesterday.
Yeah.
Right on the equator.
Yeah.
It's a lot of sun.
That reminds me of
it
what
was
you said
great.
about travel there. So I talked to this girl that had been to Burning Man,
Mhm.
and because the four of us had been to a festival called Electric Forest, where you go and say to random people and you say Happy Forest. So I asked her what was the equivalent of that in the 7-day desert of Burning Man,
Wow.
and she said it was when you talk to someone, you walk by, you say "fuck your burn," and the meaning of that is in terms of you go to something and you have an idea of how it's going to be, like some sort of expectation, and you're trying to like match what you're doing to that expectation.
Yeah.
And the concept of that for Burning Man was fuck your burn. It was fuck your expectations and allow for whatever to happen. And I think when I've been frustrated in like now almost 6 months of travel or in other travels I've done, is you have some sort of expectation for this is how it should be.
Yeah.
Some sort of like EDM montage.
Totally,
And you're
yeah.
trying to like
Jumping
fit it
out of
there. And then you're like,
helicopters.
fuck, where do I do laundry?
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, this is disappointing. And then it's like getting outside of what you think it should be and then just seeing it for what it is.
One of the big things too with traveling, I'm trying to remind myself of is even if I'm not enjoying a specific thing, is to not fight it. Yeah, mentally, it's like doing drugs. You never want to, never fight.
Don't resist.
A journey in drugs
Surrender.
is the exact same as a journey when you're traveling. You just surrender to the experience,
To trip.
just embrace it no matter what you're going through, and just get
And
the best out of every moment.
And speaking of traveling, and on that note of like, it's kind of like saying less is more. and I've learned that about traveling too, is like you don't need to fit every little activity, every little thing into every time slot of the day to enjoy traveling, even if you can do it only for a short period of time. Like there's huge value in literally just doing nothing and relaxing.
We had a huge win together as a group when we were in, it was in Calgary. It was our first day before we did the big hike at Lake Louise. And I remember a comment by Mosin. We finally, after this long hike of having like, the best time of our life, like up into the sunset. We're in the sunset. And it's our first mountain we've climbed since we've been in Calgary. And Mosin turns to everyone. He's like, how many more mountains do you think we can get today? And I thought to myself, where else are we going to go? We made it to the summit.
Literally, we were at the top of the mountain.
At the top.
Looking at a waterfall coming from the very peak of the mountain, staring in the eyes of the peaks of 4 mountains, level with them. And I'm like,
you said this is not in Banff or
it's like, Banff.
Area.
And that's such
hiking up the mountain.
It was.
What was that feeling getting to the top?
I mean, the experience of it. It's like
Considering
using
we were
that
on
as
acid.
I mean, it's using that was that weirdest
The
one.
whole point of that story was that first day when you got there, you're like, how many more
before
mountains
that day,
can we
before
climb?
the acid day?
The point was we already made it, so you can relax and chill.
Yep.
And right, less is more. That's
right.
the point.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you've come to that now of let me just get the most out of this moment.
Yep.
And not need to rush on to the next thing because I'm here.
Yeah.
I think that's the huge takeaway for me.
And there's a huge philosophical underpinning to that too, in terms of you don't get to the top of a hill and be like, well, we're going to the next one. And that doesn't equate to every other like metaphorical mountain that you climb in your life. And it's like making sure that and this goes back to what Jonathan and I have talked a lot about around celebration being a rite of passage and it giving you the courage to move forward. And actually enjoying the peaks of your mountains, not getting attached to being like, wow, mountaintop's so great. I have to always be on a mountaintop or I'm not going to be happy. Yeah. But then
that's
when
just
you
chasing a high.
Yeah. But then when you work hard and you get to the top, like fucking bask in the sunset and enjoy it.
Yeah. I think that the most satisfying hiking experience I ever had was with my sisters in Banff, and we were walking up this mountain, and my sister was holding my nephew Adam on her chest for a bunch of it.
Wow.
And it got to a point where my sister was getting too exhausted, so I was like, okay, don't worry, I'll take my nephew, and I got to hold my nephew. Shit. And then she's like, she just dude, you have no idea how terrified the entire time. I was like, I have to, and I was wearing flip flops walking up the mountain, dude.
Bro, the worst shoes.
That's so
the whole time I'm walking up, everyone's watching anyway. So he's passed away at that. No, I'm just kidding.
The show must go on. You gotta end. So the point of the moral of the story is you gotta keep going to the top.
Exactly. The key is you should have dropped the dead weight. All right. So I'm just kidding. No.
And even when it's alive, it's dead.
Yeah. No, but I'm holding my nephew and I'm walking up this mountain. My nephew had just gotten off of breastfeeding, and my sister left partway up the hill. I know, right? So he's still getting used to eating normal foods.
Yeah.
We're walking up the mountain. He's on my chest. It was like this is one of the reasons why I hate to say he's my favorite nephew. It was like this experience that I got to share with him.
That shared experience.
And I got to see what he's going to be as like an adult when he's like, because he handled it so well. Sometimes he would cry and we'd be able to soothe him again. And when he got hungry, we like were able to feed him like bits of bread and like banana as we were going up. Like we figured it out. We got to the top, and being able to like bask in the glory of the peak while holding my nephew was not. So it wasn't just me. I was like carrying him with me.
That's transformative.
It was incredible.
Was it kind of like the Lion King moment where the monkey holds up Simba for the first time ever?
Now I am hating myself that I didn't do that. Yeah. You mentioned that because I actually do have one photo with one of my nephews doing that, but it was in my living room. Why wouldn't I do it at the top? You know, I was probably at that point. I was probably too exhausted at that point to even like carry him. Yeah.
How many people did that outside of their like window just to recreate the scene? And
Michael Jackson did
Michael Jackson, yeah.
I wonder how many people did that.
And they almost canceled him for that.
I wonder how many people held their kid out of a balcony for an alibi. I'm just kidding.
They're like, I was just trying to be like Michael Jackson. I was trying to be like, it's offended. Oops.
Michael Jackson is the wrong person as an out to be how you're treating children. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yes.
nonetheless,
I honestly, I love his music so much. I refuse to watch the
I'm not
documentary
gonna watch.
because
No,
I want to
no.
continue enjoying his music.
Anthony Jeselnik had a joke about that. He's like, I just watched the new Michael Jackson documentary, and wow, I've always been a fan, but I didn't realize he made music too.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Yo,
come on,
Anthony, well done.
that's crazy misdirection.
Oh yeah.
Yo, Anthony.
Anthony Jeselnik, I love him as a stand-up for the first 20 minutes, and then it gets to the point where I'm like, I kind of see like where his jokes are going, the template where it's all just like the total misdirection of like he somehow found the worst possible thing to say, and he chose that as the punchline. So it gets exhausting after 20 minutes. You're like, oh, I can't do it anymore.
He told this one story
morals
about how
can't handle
My morals.
yeah,
Exactly.
he told us about this one story about how he was in an airport bar talking to this priest for a long time. And then the priest said, hey, man, I've been talking to you for a while. You're cool. I was a priest, but I'm not in it anymore because I was touching children. And then he's like, I kept talking to the guy, and then I left. And it was weird because, and this is his voice, he's like, it was weird. I enjoyed so much talking to him, and he was a really good guy. I mean, you know, if you could get past all that that Jesus bullshit. Oh, man.
Classic Anthony Jeselnik misdirection, man. He's like he's one of those stand-ups where everyone in the stand-up game respects him, but they also like fear him. They're afraid to approach him because they see his presence on stage, and he just seems like a scary douchebag who's like if you like it's. Even though he's amazing at stand-up, it's hard to imagine having a normal conversation.
Yeah, because his on-stage voice,
Good
like
point.
his jokes are great, but that's presumably not how he talks. Whereas you listen to another comedian, and you're like, I have an idea of how the conversation would go if I talk to him.
Exactly.
Like if you talk to Jim Jeffries, you'd be like, I know how that's going to go.
Exactly, because Jim Jeffries
Just talk.
has it's conversational. His whole set, all his stand-up is just. It's as if he's just at a party. He's at a party, just talking to his friends, telling the story. Exactly, and he's mastered it.
One of the things I've been thinking about is so Mohsen joined us in Mexico. It was a transformative experience for him. But you've been working at Fix Software this whole time over the last year. We actually realized that we missed our getting let go anniversary. We were in Costa Rica.
April 14th. Yeah, whatever. No, we're in Medellin.
Yeah, we were in Medellin, Colombia. And we got let go for the last year, but you've been there the whole time. I'm glad we brought up stand-up. That's what reminded me of one of the things that you started taking on as a creative project and like endeavor and challenging yourself was writing and performing stand-up comedy. That led to Ian writing and performing stand-up comedy. And that was all before COVID. And so over the last year, I wanted to bring this book because I don't know what you've been up to for the full time, but you've been reading The Alchemist and you've been at work, and Mohsen went on this trip with us, and then now you're here with us. Like, what have you taken away from that time, and what are you learning now about yourself after reading The Alchemist and being here?
So as I loved stand-up, but one of the things I realized, and it's like it's a love-hate, because one of the things I realized, as much as I enjoyed it when I was doing really well, it was still it caused so much stress in my life at the same time, because I naturally, like, Ian can like drop a quote whenever he needs to. Like, he has a great memory, right? I'm not built that way.
Special mind for sure.
So like I feel like I'm more built for podcasts in a way. I'm not trying to say like I'm amazing at podcasts, but it's like,
well, I'm pretty
fucking good. One of the number ones in the game.
Check out
hottest artist in the game,
the Dulo Show.
If you're looking for a Vin Diesel hot take,
we'll definitely talk about Dulo Show again after. But so you were saying.
But like, it caused so much stress and constantly questioning myself. Like, should I be doing this? And it's constantly weighing like the stress and anxiety it's caused me. Exactly, is it worth the squeeze? A lot of times it was. Do you have a podcast?
Yeah, we did a podcast with Mohsen in Mexico about is the juice worth the squeeze. So you're asking yourself, is it worth it? It's stressful.
Yeah. And I don't know if maybe it's one of those things where once I do it enough times, once I do it for long enough, then maybe it'll just become easier, right? One of the things I knew I needed to become better at was stop being so married to the material, come up with on stage with like generally what I want to talk about it, and see how it goes over that way, you know? Because like for example, back when I was single in the dating game, I would have like a few really good stories ready to go. I didn't have to memorize a script or something, right?
I know exactly what you're
but I would show up and like if there was like something that tied, like we were talking about, that tied to a story that I had, I was like, okay, and I'd lead into the story, and it would kill. In some cases, it'd be like, wow, you should do stand up, and I was like, and that a lot of that also is like some of those affirmations is what led to me doing stand up. Yeah. But actually doing the stand up, you're putting so much on the line when you're on stage. You're being judged every 10 seconds. Like, is this, and the moment a laugh dies where you're like, oh, they didn't laugh at that, you have to be really good at brushing it off and moving on to the next. But
people are watching TikTok now, so it's even, you're being judged every 5 seconds.
See, now that's the thing too, because stand up, there's so many people trying to do that. So it's like, is stand up the old game? What's the next thing? Is the next thing, should I be on TikTok instead, or should I be doing something else? So a lot of what I'm trying to think about now is like, what's the next thing I should do? Should I go back to stand up? Should I stay in stand up?
I think it's more of a matter. I think it makes more sense. I mean, figure out what you want to do, because I think if you want to do it, there's going to be a market for stand up. So it's like, if you're passionate about do that, I wouldn't say go where the viewers are and then kind of like, what do you want to do? Because you'll be able to get good enough at what you want to do.
Great, man.
Yeah.
I think it really comes down to what your goals are, right? Like the format doesn't matter nearly as much as just doing it, right? And then I got to ask yourself the question: is this legitimately something I want to do, or am I just worried about the format? Well, and TikTok versus Instagram Reels versus YouTube versus in person versus blah blah blah. You could get into that, but none of those things actually matter the most. What matters most is like, do you actually legitimately want to do it, and are you really enjoying doing it?
Mm-hmm. So that's why I want to experiment. I need to experiment. I need to try out TikTok. I need to see if I like it, because a big part of why you want to do stand up, or why I want to do stand up, is the positive affirmation you get when you get the laugh. There's fucking nothing like it. You're like, holy shit. Like when you have the crowd in the palm of your hand, it's amazing. Can I get that?
I hear you.
Will it feel the same way? Yeah. Like I saw Jonathan right before everything was canceled in Toronto do a speech. Yeah. I'm assuming that the feeling when you're doing stand up is very similar to when you're doing a speech. You
Captivation.
can tell everyone is just on the edge of their seat, like, oh my God, what is he going to say next? If I can get that same feeling doing TikTok, then I would love that. But I haven't experimented with that yet. So it's something I've been thinking about.
Have you talked to Cole Rowden?
He has a very different approach to his TikTok than
Ian showed me Cole's TikTok, and there's like, how many?
It's like 200,000 followers.
200,000 followers on that thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, come on, the guy's fucking hot as fuck. Like, he's not. He should have more followers.
You're funny as fuck.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just a matter of,
he will have more followers.
He will have more
followers.
And to be fair, you are experimenting. You're doing the podcast.
Yeah.
So you're doing a podcast with your best friend.
Oh, you're in the game. You're on the fucking court.
So what inspired you to do that with your best friend?
So we kept talking about it a bunch, and then actually what happened is I bought a mic and stuff. I even bought like a travel mic too.
Nice.
And then Chris's girlfriend Katie, love her, she's amazing. She bought a podcasting mic for Chris.
Wow.
And Chris was like, I have the shit. Exactly. It's like, and so Chris was like, I have the stuff. Like, let's do it. So we just like did our first episode. We experimented, and every episode we're getting better and better with it. And like even the last episode that we did, even listening to the shit, like Chris killed the last episode in my opinion. I was so impressed with it.
Good,
so like,
man.
It was funny.
You got something with Chris, that's for sure.
Like, every time I record with Chris, I'm like, wow, okay, this is why I'm doing this with him. It's not just because he's my best friend. He's like, fucking, he's funny.
He's hot.
Yeah, he's fucking hot, dude.
Just to change it up a little, I would say, like, man, it's just so nice to, in general, live life with no need of some external sense of approval. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need you to laugh at my jokes. I don't need you to be proud of my success. I don't need you to be this for me. I don't need you to be that for me. And I'm 100% like independent, the self-made man, the self-sufficient man.
Emotional self-sufficiency.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Emotional self-sufficiency, where I don't actually need to do this for you. I'm doing this for me, and you just get to enjoy it. But I get to enjoy it first.
Yeah.
Abby, you're just going for the fucking. You're just going for what the listeners are doing.
It's all, well, when it comes to entertainment, generally you want to find out what works, right? You're trying to figure, but of course you don't
telling jokes that don't land.
But that's the biggest thing.
But I liked it.
You don't want you to like. Yes, you want to do your own thing, and you want to make people, but you want, there's like the Venn diagram, right? It's like what people will enjoy and also what you want to do. So you want to kind of meet in the middle there. And then eventually it's just hopefully no one's watching on video. So
I mean, I think it's an interesting point because in general in life, but I mean, I guess as an art form, as entertainment, you want to make sure it works, and then it's just finding how close of a ratio do you want it to be, just mine and I'm gonna see whatever happens, or do you want to like it's also creative to see what would land with lots of people too.
Exactly. And I mean, as much as it's like, oh, I want to do what I want to do, but you know, that dopamine hit of people loving what you're doing, we can't fight it. It's just the way it is. We want people to enjoy what we're doing.
It hits your like survivability nerve.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like I'm liked by people, I'm accepted by people. That boosts my survivability, that makes me feel good, and it's just like something innate within you. But you know, you can't fight that, so it's fine. Well put. Enjoy it.
Well put.
I want to throw it back to what Ian said about like what do you actually want to do, because like TikTok is just a distribution platform to what you want to share. So what do you want to share? Like,
so you could share clips like an Andrew Schultz.
What's your creative? What is your creation? Like what do you want to create? Because like Ian and I are making the podcast, and that's what we want to create. Most of us thinking about making schmillies and cryptocurrency. We could talk about cryptocurrency on this podcast.
Hell yeah.
Like what do you inspire? What do you actually want to make? Like what do you actually want to do? What do you actually want to talk about?
So it's really well put. I just like having silly opinions on a podcast. Right now I'm really enjoying.
So what's your silliest opinion?
My silliest opinion?
That you feel really strongly about.
Oof, on the spot. Can I think about this? I'll get back to you. Okay. But
pin on it.
But in terms of like the TikTok and the podcast and how that kind of goes together is, and you mentioned Andrew Schultz and like he's taking and Andrew Schultz has figured out a way where he's realized like you don't need to post whole comedy sets and try to get people to watch it. Just you need to post anywhere from like 2 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And people will watch it in like bite-sized pieces, like, wow, that was good, and they'll want to watch the next clip, So it's like finding pieces of the podcast where you're like, this is where we shine. I think you guys are doing something similar. You have clips where you're like, this is where the podcast shines, and then that will actually get them to listen to the podcast. So I think in the end, I think podcasting is fucking dope. TikTok is more of a marketing platform to get people involved in the podcast and actually get them to start listening.
One of the things that really resonated with me, Ian sent me this fire. It was just a screenshot of one of the podcasts that was recommended for him, and it was, don't make content, make art.
Yeah.
And so the whole point of anything you're going to record, so anything you capture, anything you document, you can share it with the distribution channel in whatever way it makes sense. If you make art, if you make the 45-minute podcast, the reason we do it in video is maybe there's 5 minutes that you can put on Instagram TV, or you can put on YouTube, or you can put on LinkedIn. But for yours, if you capture 45 minutes, maybe there's a 15-second hilarious TikTok inside of that art you created.
Yeah.
And then it would just be a matter of how much you care to go back and review it, or how good you get at delegating other people who want to do that sort of thing, like create content and make edits and then do that for you so you don't have to do it. But you're investing in your brand and you're investing in yourself.
Exactly.
And that's the direction.
And also the way I look at TikTok, one way to look at it is to tie back to cryptocurrency. TikTok is almost the cryptocurrency of social medias right now.
It's hot.
Because it's hot, and like, why fight it? Like, it's so much harder to get discovered on other platforms.
Like, for example, our friend that we mentioned, Cole, has 200,000 followers on TikTok and like maybe 1 or 2,000, a couple thousand on Instagram.
Max.
So it's like there's a virality aspect to the way in which the videos get shared and showed up in algorithms.
It's Instagram and Facebook in its early years, right? Like, there's still time.
And TikTok has done a really good job of making TikToks viral, even when the person is undiscovered.
Yeah.
They figured it out where like they'll show you, someone might have 2 followers, they'll show you their TikTok, and you're like, oh, that's good, you get a like. They're like, oh, this might be good, and then they'll show it to more people. They base it off of more like the percentage of likes, and that's how people
match it. Basically, they match what people create with what people want to see.
That's incentivizing the behavior you want.
Yeah, which is being on the app.
Exactly. So I'm not getting a lot of views because I have a lot of followers. I'm getting a lot of views because my content is actually good. So it's like TikTok gives everyone a chance to.
TikTok
actually,
seems like the crack of social media, though, too.
Yeah.
In terms of it just.
Thank you,
flows.
China. Thank you,
point.
China, for creating TikTok.
That's a good point because like we're talking about like 10 to 15-second videos versus listening to Joe Rogan for 3 hours, and so it's like a totally different ball game. But you can play whichever, you can be on whatever court you want to be on.
Yeah, exactly. And Joe Rogan is allowed to do those long ass interviews because
he's allowed
because he pioneered what's it called, podcasting. He's one of the people who pioneered and made it popular.
Yeah.
So it's like he got famous off of it. He's already famous. Famous people will do well on podcasting no matter what. They have a fan base.
People want to hear you talk long term.
Yeah, and they already have a fan base too.
Yeah.
So they want to hear
Like,
their heroes talk long form.
How many hours of Joe Rogan do you think, like Ian was saying the other day, or like maybe weeks ago, like I probably listened to Joe Rogan's voice more than anybody else.
Yeah, probably.
And we listened to a lot of Jim Rohn and a lot of Alan
Yeah,
Watts,
Joe
but
Rogan.
probably more
Joe Rogan's probably one of the top handful of listened to humans ever, in terms of total volume of hours listened to their voice.
Exactly. It got to a point with Joe Rogan where I was listening to him too much, and you hear too much of the repetition.
Same talking points.
Which
you can't blame someone, because when I talk to you and we talk about this, I talk to someone else and we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
But then when you're always listening to them describe the same context
True.
to fill in the other person, that the same amount of context that the listener already knows, but the guest doesn't know, and you have to
exactly. And
Sober October, blow my brains out. Start going down that dialogue.
Damn.
Exactly. So I always have to take like 2-month breaks from him and then start listening to him again. So it's like, oh, he has new talking points. It's time to listen.
Because I'm done. I can't. Right now, like I love him, but I can't listen to them talk about COVID for an hour. I can't do it.
I'm
done listening to COVID speculation.
Exactly.
Because it's not based on anything.
I'm constantly hearing random shit. There's so much misinformation in podcasts that's like I'm done with it.
Opinion, basically. Fair enough.
And it's like, I don't care.
And then our listeners are like, I don't give a shit about psychedelics. Talk about something else.
Talk about psychedelics.
I got the Moderna shot 2 days before I flew out. He's afraid of the Moderna shot, not with COVID.
The Moderna shot.
Moderna shot. If it was actually contagious, you should beg me to cough into your mouth, okay? But which I have done.
Wouldn't be the first time.
But like, based off a podcast, like I was listening to one podcast and they're like, when you get a shot, the next couple of days, you're way more susceptible to get COVID. That's total misinformation. I almost didn't get the Moderna shot before I traveled because I was like, oh no, what if it makes me more receptive to it? Misinformation. So you have to be careful where you're actually like getting your information
That
from.
reminds me of something we've talked about a lot recently, which is Joe Dispenza, and one of the things he talks about a lot is placebo. Which is like the idea that that's what's going to happen makes it more likely to happen. You take a placebo, you think it's going to make you feel better.
Yeah.
So it makes you feel better, and you create the hormones and the chemicals, the biology yourself.
Word. Also, my Moderna shot starts taking full action tomorrow.
Nice.
So I'm gonna be fucking unstoppable, guys.
But he's gonna be swimming in the ocean for hours with his new gills.
I'm gonna be drinking cool water. I'll be unstoppable. Nothing can stop me.
Serious.
Yo, you could use that. You're puddle boy. You turn into chlorine boy.
Exactly.
You stop sweating so much because the chlorine's clogging your pores.
Dude, I don't know what it is about this weather, but I have not been sweating that much. And maybe it's not humid here. I love it. I'm not puddle boy in this.
No, bro, you're just not drinking enough water.
I am definitely dehydrated, 100%. Yeah. But I feel like you were going to say something.
I was going to ask a serious question, just to kind of change it up. You guys are ready for that? What's a lesson that you guys know of that you guys are sort of still in the process of internalizing and actually sort of like making it the core of you, you know? What's on your mind that's that. Like it's like right there and you like know it and you're like trying to like instill it and be it, that ideology or whatever belief system it is. Like what's that thing, you know, you're reaching for, you're not quite there, but you're getting there and you want to get it inside of you. I feel like that would be valuable to our listeners. And it'd be valuable for us to look back in 5 years or 10 years and say, this is what we were thinking about at the time. Absolutely. It's going to cost you though to answer that. You know, I'll go first if you guys want me. There you go. There's the admission. I'll bring it up first, and like I'll just talk about one of the things that I'm most interested in is just like financial freedom, right? Yeah. And I think the busting loose mentality is something I'm still instilling within myself. And where I say where I need to get to and where I am. So where I need to get to is like literally I've busted loose, and money is not a concern for the decisions that I make. And money is not something that causes me worry. I'll give you direct examples. I spend money on, drinks, or I spend money on food, or I spend money on travel. And it shouldn't cause me like deep concern, unless because it actually shouldn't, because I actually legitimately have the money.
And you want to do it.
And I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I know I have the skills to make up the money if I actually run low or something.
Yeah.
That's something I'm still instilling within myself, is like legit, I can actually do what I want.
Yeah.
And it's legit, I actually don't need to worry about expenses under $1,000. I legit actually don't need to worry.
Yeah.
That's a lesson I'm still instilling within myself. But the flip side of it is I need to ensure that I continue building the discipline to learn the skills that will generate more income for me in the manner that I want, which is passive income, me not having to work for money. So that's something I'm still learning, and making sure in many ways, I don't get jealous from that person making more money, that friend making more money, and also that I don't cause anxiety over myself of, I spent a little bit too much money on this one thing. Just actually knowing that I have cosmic overdraft protection.
That kind of reminds me of the Hunter S. Thompson quote that we talked to you guys about, which said something along the lines of, don't worry about making goals, focus on a way of living, a way of life that you want to do, and then figure out how to have finances that fuel that, work within that, as opposed to making your lifestyle work into the amount of money that you want to make. Because we overthink how much money we need to make to do what we actually would like to do.
Yeah.
I think it really,
Especially when you're in South America or Southeast Asia. Or
which you can be.
Yeah, you absolutely can just live here or anywhere around here for the rest of your life. Exactly. Yeah. Especially with this remote work life. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, if you don't see it, how would you know if you wanted to live there? If you don't experience it, how would you know if you wanted to live there?
So to summarize, I would say for myself, I'm still in the process of actually busting loose. So, what is it for you guys?
It is a process, but you're on the path.
Yeah.
I'd say mine
there's
is
degrees of it for sure.
I'd say mine is the same thing, busting loose, but not just from a financial level, but from the more meta level of the busting loose, of just really surrendering to everything actually working out how it should be.
Yep.
And then just staying present,
having faith.
Yeah, I think it takes faith to be present and realize that if you just be present, it's going to take you where you need to go, and you're already there as well.
Yeah, that's the faith that you can't make a mistake.
Yeah.
From that.
It's the faith that you can make mistakes, and that you'll come back from them, and that they're part of life, and that they're part of the process. So just accept the L's before they're going to come.
I think what Jonathan means here is from
ups and downs are a normal part of the process.
From what Jonathan means there, I think, is from a certain level of magnification. Yes, it was wrong, or you took the L and you learned from it, but that the fact that you actually, what you got from that, the alchemy of turning that L that's there to a W, is having the faith that the L is going to turn into a W, and that it actually wasn't you don't have to live in the and that's why I don't think that's why you contradicted it, but you guys are in agreement. I just wanted to make that distinction of clarification there.
Absolutely.
But I think it's the alchemist there, but in general, you can really reframe any situation at any point. Reframe. And we think the past, everyone, describe the past is fixed. The present is all you know, and the future is unknown. It's the past is not fixed at all. The past is, you have a mental story projection around what it is, and you can change your perspective on the past, and it totally changes it. You could look at your high school years, and you could look at it through some sort of angsty, sad montage in comparison to some sort of joy that you experience now that you might not have at the time, and then thereby write it off as this woeful experience, which isn't necessarily completely accurate.
Sometimes, Jordan Belfort, who's the guy that was the story of the Wolf of Wall Street was based off of, he says, you're not your past, you're the lessons and the skills you gleaned from your past.
Word.
And then Alan, what Ian's saying is that Alan talks about the actions you take today actually rewrites the story. It's if it was a tragedy before, you could rewrite it in this moment to be a comedy,
inspirational, or comedy, or something else.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
So if you were to say it in one phrase, how would you phrase it?
I'd say the main thing I'm focused on right now is within that, from like a tangible step, is the concept of like, once you realize you don't have to do anything, you can do anything. And I think the part I'm focused on right now is just very like just exclusively do the things that I like pretty much want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then which is not having to do anything I don't want to, because there's no have to anymore.
Yeah.
And then that opens up all the room to be able to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So I'm
it's a run-on sentence, but we'll take the phrase.
Yeah. So to put it in one, once you realize you don't have to do anything, you can do anything.
Love it.
Is your one sentence.
Love it.
I've repeated that so many times since the first time you said that. I said that on the podcast today.
Damn, baby.
Jack Goodall, founder,
Jeez.
a Circle Up podcast. But yeah, I want to go. Nah, I don't.
You want to go last?
I can go last. It actually fits perfectly into what Gabriel was saying, which is Ian's talking about once you realize you don't have to do anything, you can do anything. And then I'm just wondering with myself, the concept that I'm working with and implementing and making errors on is addictions and commitments.
Yeah.
So I did a seminar with Ian a couple of years ago, and one of the ideas that the seminar leader brought up was addictions and commitments. And he said, this is a $50 tip. He said, the degree to which you're committed is the degree to which you're not addicted. And he said, the tragedy of life is that the degree to which the opposite is true as well, which is the degree to which you're addicted is the degree to which you're not committed. And so this concept where I'm asking myself, is this actually what I want to do? Or is it my addictions that are in control of me? Because the definition is, the way I look at it is something that's in control of me versus me being in control of it. So is it the one that's choosing the decisions, or am I choosing the decisions? And that's the one that I'm working on, is like, well, who's actually calling the shots?
And I think it fits into the, like, once you realize you don't have to do anything, you can do anything. And the addiction there, I think, from a general idea of human consciousness, is we are addicted to like doing anything and having some idea of how it should go. And then that stops us from getting to a place of nothing, which is where something comes from.
That's where I want to go, is nothing first.
Yeah.
And then allowing it to arise as what I actually want, or what I ultimately have decided. In terms of the Alchemist Mac tube, it's already written, like, let that come forward.
So it's like, to circle back, like with Mohsen's point, it's less of a thing we're trying to do, like a condition. It's like an unconditioning of the regular mind of this. There is something that you have to do. And like getting outside of that and just allowing yourself to be outside of the lens of, I'm looking at this whole world and I'm looking at through the lens of trying to do something. But if what I'm trying to do is a green lens, then I'm looking at everything and everything is tainted green, because it's like money there and tainted in that way. Whereas getting outside of trying any expectation of trying to see anything from here in complete surrender, and when you actually see things how you are, then you can find out who you are, what you actually want, and then what you'll do will be a natural extension and expression of the present moment, as opposed to this like anxious, like trying to fit these like usually unfittable things together.
Yeah. And to put a pin on my point, I think Mohsen's was busting loose from the money game, and Ian's was busting loose from the game. Right, realizing that once you realize that you don't have to do anything, you can do anything. And I guess that's exactly what I'm working towards too, which is getting to nothing and then allowing my life to arise from that.
And it's trusting that the something is going to come out of that. And that's where the faith it takes to get to the nothing is that you don't have to be afraid of nothing, which is you don't have to be afraid of the void.
The unknown.
But the void is the unknown. And if you're scared of being near the void, which is being afraid of the unknown, then the best you can do is recreate what you already know, the familiar things that you've experienced. So you actually need to get to the edge of the void and trust that what's going to come out of there. And that's where it's like what the Rumi quote, what you're seeking is seeking you. When you get to that point of nothing, which is getting to the void, which is getting to the unknown, it's trusting that out of the unknown is going to be something that is going to overall serve you.
I think
that's what I was trying to say.
I think a good way to put it is, like, for me, in a practical sense, just to continue on with what you're saying is like, for me, fate has been so much better at fate and the universe and the powers of the universe have been so much better at giving me what I want than just what my own head could think of.
If fate doesn't make you laugh,
then you didn't get the joke.
Yeah, and what I mean by that is, well, how could that be true? Well, it's like, well, once you constantly keep venturing into the unknown, it's like, well, obviously you're in the unknown, which means you couldn't have thought of it and couldn't have planned for it that way. No. But it just seems to work out sometimes, and then it doesn't seem to work out other times.
Until it does.
Or
you trying to control it.
Until more things start to just keep working out. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, okay, like I'm really onto something here. And that onto something is I should be more playful with the unknown, because that's the only way to expand your reality is like you keep venturing and you keep venturing. And now you actually see more of reality and more, you understand how much more you actually don't know. And you start to approach life and reality with this sort of playfulness rather than this fear. It's like, I don't know what's out there, but let me go find it, and let me go have fun, and let me go find it, rather than, I don't know what's out there. I don't know. I can't go that way. Yeah.
And it's putting yourself in a
just stick to what I know. Yeah. And it's like, well, you just can't get as far.
I would say this conversation is like very much like philosophical and in the clouds, and I like to spend most of my time in the dirt. And I would say the easiest way to get to this place is to spend time with people that you want to be like. Yeah. And that's the big takeaway for me is just
cross-pollination.
Continuing to surround myself with people who have strengths in areas that I feel weak, and then being able to be lifted up, knowing that I'm contributing what I'm best at in that relationship and that dynamic. Thanks for that. Good reflection.
On that point, for any of you who are lost right now listening, I'm right along with you. Don't worry. I'm also dumb, so that's okay.
He hasn't been with us last year.
I will have to re-listen to this again.
Just call our audience member dumb.
Fully understand it. Well, they got to be to listen to you guys, okay? So
does that make you? You just responded to my question.
I literally just said I'm dumb. Okay. But no, I 100% with the surrounding yourself with people that you want to be like. The main reason, so I used to be more introverted, and I want to be more extroverted. Nice. That's the reason why I started surrounding myself with people like Nate and Andy as an example, because they're so extroverted. Chris is also extroverted in the way he'll just talk to random strangers. Like he'll have a meaningful conversation with someone who's like checking out his items at the grocery store.
He's like genuinely interested in what they have to say.
Exactly, genuinely cares. So I'm like, I surround myself by these people who I'm like, wow, I admire this, and I take pieces of that. And so a lot of what people like about me is just things I've taken off from or learned from other people. Yeah.
You had a whole speech about that.
Yeah, I did a speech about becoming, which made me actually the biggest takeaway from the speech, Frankenstein, be like Frankenstein, was that I had no idea what the fuck I was talking about. Because I said I was like Frankenstein, but it's actually Frankenstein's monster, and I just like didn't actually know what I was saying. So basically it was Frankenstein's monster, and I said that I could take the parts in other people that I admired most, and I could actually incorporate them into who I'm being, and then it becomes a unique version of me and their qualities.
To be fair, to hold to your speech, you could be Frankenstein because that was the doctor that
Frankenstein's
created
monster didn't have a name, so it was just known as Frankenstein. Did it? True. I don't think it had a name.
Oh yeah.
All I know is I came second.
Yeah, exactly.
What the
just
fuck?
known as
Shit
lame,
speech.
Dude, lame.
Who'd you lose to?
This guy named Ted, and he actually went to the finals of the World Championships of Public Speaking with Toastmasters, so I don't feel that bad. His speech was good, but his speech was it was tried, true, and tested, and it was there's a bunch of different contests in Toastmasters. One of them is a humorous speech contest, and he used his winning humorous speech contest to perform, and it was so fucking funny.
So you were trying something new. You were experimenting.
As the first contest I ever did public speaking contest.
You got second. Not bad, man.
Actually, in grade 7 and grade 8, I won my class though for public speaking. Yeah, but it was just like the theme that showed up for me, which is so funny. The theme that shows up for me is I talked on the podcast today, the Circle Up podcast with Eric Windler, and he literally said to me, he's like, "You're so great with quotes," and I was like, "Yeah, my roommate's like a poet, artist, rapper, creative," and Alan Watts talks about prickly people and gooey people, and Ian's very gooey. He's like up in the clouds, very philosophical, and I tend to spend a lot of time in the dirt and be very prickly, and want my calendar scheduled and fucking know where I'm going. And because we have this relationship together, I'm prickly goo and he's gooey prickles. It just reminds me of. It reminds
the
me,
yin and yang.
There's a lot of goo going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of fucking goo in this party.
Yeah. During this trip.
A lot of goo in this party. But yeah, it reminds me of. I don't remember what I was talking about.
No, it's just we're a good dynamic.
That's the most relatable thing that Jonathan's ever said to me ever. I forgot where I was going with this. That's the most relatable thing I've ever heard from him so far. That's me. That's literally I've had stand-up sets where I'm like, what was the next? Wait, what was I saying again?
Yeah, I think what you're getting at is like it's just going back to spending time with people that have contrasted benefits or characteristics towards you. Like you don't have to find carbon copy versions of yourself as your friends, and then you're just in this echo chamber. There was this quote that I saw recently by a philosopher who said something along the lines of your friend, like if your friends agree with every single opinion and everything you say and do and everything, then he's like, I might as well just stick to hanging out with my shadow because he does the same shit. Yeah. It's like, and you want to obviously hang out with friends that have like similar underpinning values, but in general, it doesn't have to manifest its way in like the same character, like the same way that we talk to people, or I don't know.
Wouldn't it be very interesting, would it, if you just talk to fucking copies of yourself?
Exactly. I love hanging out with people with contrary opinions. Yeah. I just kind of love not arguing, just like
bickering.
Banter.
It's like funny. It's like banter.
No,
I don't know.
Debating, not debating, not arguing. What's the word?
It's like arguing, but it's not. It's more like just like intellectual jousting for fun.
Exactly. As long as
and that's where the silly opinions.
As long as they're looking at it the same way, they're not taking it seriously.
Yeah. And that's where the silly opinions come in, right?
Yeah.
You have one?
That also reminds me. Oh, true. Yeah.
Not yet. I'll bring it up when I got it.
I'm almost done here. Yeah. That being said, Abdu has an answer to Mohsin's question as well as his silly opinion. But it does remind me this conversation about a friend that we have where she said she was looking for. She hasn't had a lot of dating experience, but she said, I'm looking for someone that's more like me. And Ian and I were like, are you sure that's what you want, is to hang out with yourself? Like it reminds me of this masculine, feminine energy. You want someone that has like the magnet, like the polar opposite. You attract
contrast.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I feel that.
So, what's a lesson you've been thinking about?
We're almost there.
Stop questioning my own bets. The bets that I have in my life, or in general. So like, there's been so many times where I have a gut feeling about something. I think the easiest way to apply this, for example, is like, if we're looking at stocks or investments, I've had so many bets where I'm like, I believe in this, but I didn't believe in it enough to fully go in, and I could have got way more out of it.
And what does that mean? Like, what's a super real example of that? And like, what was it that held you back from not making that bet?
It's more I didn't believe enough in what the opinion that I had, or because there's I didn't have enough faith in my own like kind of gut feeling and what I'm seeing. So instead I just do. So as an example, right, for Tesla, I invested in them like pretty early, right?
Nice.
And I put a bid in it, and it blew up. But I was like, when I was talking to people, I was like, yes, Tesla's the future. But it's like, I'm talking about it.
True. Not putting your money where your mouth is.
I didn't put enough of my money where my mouth was. I put a bit of it. I should have fucking fully went in, and I could have made way more money. It's like being able to assess the market, look at what's out there, the opportunities, and figure out what makes sense to me, and actually fully invest in my bets. That's the biggest thing. So it's like, don't half-ass it.
That's great, man. And like, as someone, especially on the financial aspect, I can comment like, me going in on crypto, like, it took baby steps at the beginning, right? Like it took just like trying different platforms, investing a little bit in just Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then understanding how the trade button works and how you can actually buy other shit.
Yeah.
Downloaded a different app, not just Endax.
And exactly, and I want to talk about the fruition of that thought process and the fruition of actually doing that. Mm-hmm. What happens when you take that bet? Well, guess what? You're going to take a lot of L's along the way. You're going to take massive L's along the way. If you're going all in on one thing, that's massively risky. So
High
it's
risk,
like there's
reward.
ways to cover your bets.
Don't
It's
lose
like,
money.
well, fuck, I can't be wrong all the time.
Yeah.
So let me
That's
try
true.
to be right at least more than half the time.
Yeah.
And in investing, if you're at least half right if you're right more than half of the time, then you're making money.
Yeah.
And that's what venture capitalist firms try to do when they invest in companies. They know most of them are going to go to shit, even with their like rigorous, super intense, super smart
vetting processes.
people who are part of that process in terms of making decisions on who they should give millions of dollars to. They still know that some of their bets or most of their bets are going to go to shit. But a few of them are actually going to work out, and they're going to make up for all of the other ones. And you just start doing that more and more and more
Playing
and
to
more.
win.
And exactly. And now you're playing to win rather than not to lose. And that is just such a good like flip of the mind. It's like, well, I can take a few L's here, but like I'm in it to win it, and I'm going to figure it out. And there's natural L's that I'm going to take, and they're going to suck. Yeah. But even those L's that I take are going to develop me so much because they're going to shape who I am in investing. For me, it's become like losing $50,000 in a day will fucking test you.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? Like making $50,000 in a day and then losing it and then making it again and then losing it again and then making it again.
Yeah.
This kind
of reminds me of
which is literally what has happened to me.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something I wrote, which is a continuation of what you're saying around like there's playing not to lose, and then there's playing to win, and then there's swinging for the fences.
Jeez.
Which is like what I think what you're kind of saying, where it's like if you really feel confident that you got that swing, then you should fucking swing it, not just try and get a ground ball.
Yeah, because the faith.
Especially, I like what you said. You're testing it out, and once what you've tested, you realize this is working, and you build that confidence in yourself and what you're doing, your methodology. Then it's time to fucking go in. Stop questioning yourself. You're like, oh, this is working.
Burn your boats.
Yeah.
Burn your boats.
That being said, so the faith that we were talking about earlier was that even if it doesn't work out, the faith is that I'm going to bounce back.
And it's that there's also that like you're going to try and do the thing you want to do and you're going to go for it. And if it doesn't work out, that's going to lead you to the next thing. It's the thing I wrote around, like we get to create the dragons that we get to slay. Yeah. But maybe the dragon you got bested by was setting you up to reload in preparation for the bigger dragon over the horizon. Yeah. So like that's where like getting outside of, and part of this is like, again, tapping into how you can improve the situation. And then I think it's really something I've been focusing on is being able to compartmentalize when I'm trying to improve the future and extend this present moment in cool ways, but then also learn to realize that I was listening to Eckhart Tolle recently, and he was talking about how this incessant striving for more and this
Eckhart Tolle, what a name!
Wow. Yeah, I know.
Is that a first name?
Power of Now.
Eckhart Tolle.
Is that a first name or
Eckhart Tolle? Eckhart Tolle.
And I don't even know how the right word is.
And
I need a
drive.
I need a pen name or something. None of this Abdu Zaghloul.
I have another serious question to ask you guys. I have another serious question to ask you guys that might be valuable for the listeners, which is what's one seemingly L that you took that then you kind of transformed into a huge
podcast.
Win?
Everything that I've ever been upset about.
2-part podcast.
It's a great question. We should do another podcast.
Yeah.
Starting with that question.
Okay.
Everything I've ever been upset about.
Does that mean we save it?
I think so. Are you open to that?
Hey, no problem. No problemos.
So did you hear that? What was the question again? We're going to restart the next podcast before Abdu leaves with the four of us to this question.
Which is, what's one huge loss that you thought was a huge loss, but then through some time or through some thinking that you transformed into a win for yourself?
I love it.
I'll think about that.
Cool.
I love it.
All right, y'all. My friend.
Hey.
Until
the end.
Hey.
Hey. Colombia 2020.
Do you want to do that? You want to do that as a fucking? Do you want to say anything before we end this? Like, you good? Like,
guys, I had a great time. If you want to have an even better time, go listen to the Do Low Show on Spotify. Okay. Don't listen to the first episode.
No.
Okay.
Masochists everywhere.
We're gonna celebrate.
Listen to the latest episode.
What should we name the show?
That's where we're still trying to figure out the name. Do Low Show will do it for now.
D-Lo, that's an NBA player's name. That's a pretty famous D-Lo.
No, we're gonna ride that then.
D'Angelo Russell.
Oh,
Yeah. Start
yeah.
tagging him on every single post and being like, "Hey,
If we can get
we're
a
out
few,
here."
No,
if
he
we
lives
get
in Minnesota.
listeners, if we can get some listeners just based off people mistaking our podcast for that, I'll take it, bro. A view is a view, my guy.
So I'm excited.
That's
for
why I'm-
most
that's-
discussion.
That's why I'm gonna name. Never mind. You go ahead. I'll save that one.
Yo, I think we're done.
We're done.
Cerrado.
All right.
Curfew is 8 p.m. now in Cartagena, Colombia, and so we're gonna try to make it happen.